Canelo Alvarez tells the truth about Terence Crawford, and Terence Crawford gets in his feelings about it. Canelo said other than Earl Spence, he ain't really beat no real good fighters.
The bot has been requesting this match for months, and it appears to be happening in September in Las Vegas due to the management of Turkey as well. Even if no one thinks Terence Crawford, who has never fought more than 154 pounds, can defeat Canelo Alvarez at 168 pounds, the Mexican's typical weight.
Official? Is it official?
It's on, baby. September 13, baby. Look forward to it. Crawford versus Canelo. Listen how I said it.
Hey, are we getting this confirmation here?
With emotions escalating after a recent run-in at an airport, the feud between Crawford and Canelo has only become more heated. When both boxers happened to be in the same location for a meeting with Turki Alek, a verbal dispute swiftly turned into a physical altercation. With a cold gaze, Canelo made a scathing remark about Crawford not fitting in at 16,168, to which Bud reacted angrily, pointing out Canelo's previous fighting circumstances.
The crazy stuff about me going up and having a tough time, but he went up in weight and lost. That's the difference. I went up weight and won. He went up and lost. You know, so let's not do that.
The tension between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford reached a boiling point when an unexpected shove from Crawford led to Canelo delivering a sharp, quick punch that landed on Crawford's chest. Chaos ensued as those around them rushed to separate the two fighters before the situation escalated further. Security stepped in immediately, pulling them apart. But the underlying message was clear. This fight was about to become personal. Canelo, unfazed and smirking, dismissed Crawford's challenge, reportedly telling him he was too small and not worth the effort. However, insiders close to the situation suggest that the confrontation didn't end there. As they were being escorted away, Crawford and Canelo continued to exchange verbal jabs, with Crawford calling Canelo a cherry picker and mocking his past opponents.
That's 2 more weight classes. Like, once he gets touched by Canelo, it's going to be different.
I am concerned about him absorbing a Canelo punch, especially through the course of 12 rounds. We do know this about Canelo. He's going to slow down.
Crawford's criticism centered on the level of competition Canelo had faced, with Crawford suggesting that Alvarez had often chosen fighters who weren't up to his caliber. Canelo, not one to back down, allegedly responded by telling his team that Crawford didn't know what he was getting into, and that he was about to feel the consequences of his words and actions. Canelo's confidence was palpable, with the Mexican fighter clearly asserting that Crawford had made a mistake in calling him out. One of the primary issues that has fueled the animosity between the two is the rehydration clause that Canelo reportedly demands of his opponents. This clause stipulates that fighters cannot exceed a certain weight after stepping on the scale for the official weigh-in, and it has been a point of contention in previous negotiations. Crawford, however, has made it clear that he would not agree to such conditions.
It makes me laugh with all the antics that Canelo is doing and saying in the media and whatnot about the size, and he won't get no credit and all this type of things. But Canelo been fighting smaller.
In fact, he has taken the position that he wouldn't need to ask Canelo to comply with such a clause, even if Canelo were to come in heavier for the fight. Crawford seems unconcerned about the weight restrictions, saying that if his opponent chooses to exceed the limit, it would be his problem, not Crawford's. Despite the personal nature of the conflict and the underlying tensions, Crawford has remained resolute in his desire for the fight. According to his trainer, Brian McIntyre, there is no issue with the stipulations for the fight, signaling that Crawford is prepared to face Canelo regardless of the conditions laid out. Both fighters are clearly on a collision course, and as the trash talk continues to escalate, fans can expect this to be one of the most heated and highly anticipated matchups in recent memory.
Crawford the biggest fight in the game.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like when you're looking at Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis, this is the next thing.
Terence Crawford's trainer, Brian McIntyre, didn't hold back when asked about Canelo Alvarez's rehydration clause. He dismissed it outright, calling it BS and for wimps. McIntyre expressed his belief that boxing is about skill, and that fighters should compete without restrictions once they step on the scale and agree to the fight. You stepped on the scale, you gave the weight, and no matter how much you come back after you accepted the fight. So let's get in the ring and fight like men.
Eso. Venga.
McIntyre said, making it clear that Crawford has no interest in weight clauses or limiting conditions. Crawford himself echoed this sentiment, stating that such demands are when great fighters prove their worth. He emphasized that when critics say you're too small or shouldn't be in the ring with someone, that's when the best fighters show what they're made of. Crawford believes this fight against Canelo is a chance to prove his greatness. Amir Khan, who has fought both Canelo and Crawford, offered his own insight. Khan stepped up to middleweight for a WBC title shot against Canelo in May 2016, and although he started strong, he was knocked out in the 6th round. 3 years later, Khan moved back down to his natural weight of 147 pounds and challenged Crawford for the WBO welterweight title. Again, it was a similar story. Crawford dominated, knocking Khan out in the 6th round.
Crawford could beat him because Crawford is a big 147 fighter and is strong as well, which a lot of people don't give him the credit for. I think that fight, if it does happen, as long as Crawford stays away and just...
Now, as Canelo and Crawford look set to meet later this year, fans are eager for the high-stakes showdown between two of boxing's best. But Khan believes there's another fighter who hits even harder than both of them, leaving the question of who truly hits the hardest in boxing still up for debate.
Get his big bank and get out. His big bank is who? Canelo. He willing to take that gamble, see if he can beat him. If he beats him, he may go fight Benavidez next. If he don't beat him, he say, okay, I'll take it as high as I can go. I'm done.
Amir Khan recently shared his experience on the Hat Live podcast, naming Marcos Maidana as the most powerful fighter he has ever faced in the ring. Reflecting on their 2010 bout, Khan described Maidana as a beast, recalling that he couldn't remember much from the first round.
There's nothing Crawford brings to the table Canelo hasn't seen. He's seen his boxing ability. He's seen speed. There's nothing that he don't have. He's seen Mayweather, man. He's seen Lara. He's seen all these guys. I mean, nothing he brings at a smaller weight, too, coming back up. Now, let's switch it to the other side. Has Crawford seen any...
The fight was a blur, Khan said, adding that he only truly recalled the details after watching the fight back on TV. Despite the blur, Khan emphasized how thrilling the fight was, noting that Maidana's power stood out. Khan explained that Maidana's punches were different from others he faced. While some fighters land shots that sting but don't really hurt, Maidana's blows had a devastating effect.
Am I hearing that right? He wants full smoke at that with it.
Let's go, man. That's what Crawford wants. He wants to show the world that he's the best. So, and why put stipulations in there when you know that you can be the...
When he hits you, you feel it, Khan said. He had that devastating power that would go through you even when he was next to you, hitting you in the ribs. According to Khan, Maidana's punches weren't just powerful. They were heavy-handed, with a force that was hard to shake off. Khan went on to defeat Maidana by unanimous decision in December 2010, successfully retaining his WBA super lightweight title. The fight, widely regarded as one of the best of the year, showcased both fighters' resilience and skill. But despite the victory, Khan couldn't ignore Maidana's raw power, which left a lasting impression on him.
Bud versus Canelo, based on last fight, is a 50-50. So Canelo fights an undisputed champ, up-and-coming former champion, and an up-and-coming undefeated contender. And somehow those three last opponents are somehow compared to Bud's Madrimov fight, making it a 50-50 fight?
When Canelo and Crawford face off later this year, boxing fans will be looking for another Fight of the Year candidate. Former Budo Errol Spence Jr. had shared his prediction for the fight. Terence Crawford faces a very different task from Canelo Alvarez, not just in terms of weight, but also in terms of the rarity of a boxer who has established his legacy by defeating more formidable opponents. Although many in the boxing community have already referred to this as a risky move for Crawford, his team remains steadfast in their belief.
In boxing, you know what I'm saying? And Terence Crawford is a legend. He's great. He's a great fighter. The only thing I see that I favor Canelo is that, you know, is his weight. Yeah. And that he's more bigger. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing. But as far as skill set wise, IQ, I feel like Crawford can match anybody and probably do.
Years Canelo has a reputation for managing the tempo of a fight and using constant pressure to defeat opponents. He has withstood blows from strong punchers like Dmitry Bivol, Sergey Kovalev, and Gennady Golovkin without breaking, demonstrating his unparalleled resilience. Critics think it will be the decisive element, But Crawford has never met a competitor who can exert that level of consistent force throughout 12 rounds. Nevertheless, many inside then a confrontation of this scale. Crawford contends that factors other than strength and size are important. Canelo has severely slowed down and displayed obvious indications of weakness in previous battles.
I can't go down anymore. But you know, like he say, you know, when they ask him for the Germonta fight, they don't wanna get credit for that fight. It's the same for me. I don't need to take that fight because everybody's gonna say this too small.
Canelo Alvarez's performances against Jermall Charlo and Edgar Berlanga have raised questions about his dominance, fueling confidence within Terence Crawford's camp. Despite winning both fights, Canelo failed to secure knockouts, particularly against Charlo, a naturally smaller fighter who remained overly cautious throughout. More telling was Canelo's less than dominant performance against Berlanga, who, despite lacking elite skills, managed to land clean shots. This has led Crawford's team to believe that if someone like Berlanga could have moments against Canelo, then Crawford, an arguably superior boxer, could capitalize on those opportunities. Crawford's ability to break down opponents both mentally and physically is one of his key strengths. His tactical adjustments and fluid stance switching make him a difficult puzzle for anyone, and his versatility can present serious problems for Canelo, whose methodical counterpunching style often relies on exploiting openings rather than overwhelming opponents with volume. Crawford's unpredictable movement and ability to change angles could disrupt Canelo's rhythm in ways that few opponents have managed. With these factors in mind, Crawford's team is confident that the matchup is far from a foregone conclusion, and that Crawford's skills can outmaneuver Canelo's more traditional approach.